Today our group will present about our assignment. Is our group member. We have 6 group member. Among them is SITI, BAIZURA, AZRIN, Binti, YAZIZ, Nur ATIQAH binti RUSMIN, HAZURA binti ISMAIL, Nur FARHANA ATIRAH binti ASRI, Nur ATIRAH FARHANA binti Ali, Nur Shazriena binti Gapur. Have 2 part we will present, which is part A and part B. For part A is data arrangement and graphical method. First is about data arrangement. Data can be described in the form of table and graph. There are 3 types of table that can be used to describe data. Among them are frequency distribution, relative frequency distribution, and cumulative frequency distribution. But we only choose 2 among them to describe the data. First is frequency distribution. A frequency distribution table is one way you can organize data so that it makes more sense. The data will be present in table so that several non-overlapping class will be used. The purpose of this frequency distribution is to organize the given data so that it is more meaningful and easy to understand. A frequency distribution can show qualitative and quantitative data. Next, constructing a frequency distribution have 5 steps, which is step 1 is decide on the number of classes. Step 2, determine the class interval or width. Step 3, set the individual class limit. Step 4, make a tally for each data entry in the appropriate class. Step 5, the number of tally marked for a class is the frequency for that class. Next is relative frequency distribution. This is a second table that I choose to describe the data. The relative frequency distribution is the portion of percentage of data that fall in that class. To find the relative frequency of a class, divide the frequency with sample size. Next is histogram. To draw histogram, we must calculate lower boundary and upper boundary. To calculate lower boundary, lower limit divide 0.5, and to calculate upper boundary, upper limit plus 0.5. And to calculate midpoint, we must to calculate midpoint, lower class limit plus upper class limit divide by 2. For this graph, we use frequency for y-axis and midpoint for x-axis. Next, for second graph is frequency polygon. Frequency polygon also same with histogram graph. We must calculate midpoint and also use frequency for y-axis and use midpoint for x-axis.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am SITI, BAIZURA, AZRIN, Binti, YAZIZ, H21A2651. So for today, I will present about measure of central tendency. As we know that central tendency have 3, which is mean, median, and mode. The mean is the average where the total of all the numbers is divided by the total number of numbers. The median is the middle of value in the list of given number, ranking from smallest to biggest. While the mode is the value of the number that shows in the list the most frequently. And then next, for the formula, for mean has shown this slide. It shows that X for midpoint of a class, F for frequency of a class, and N for number of entries in sample. This figure has a class, frequency, midpoint, and FX. So we have complete the mean calculation, and we get that the result is 66 here for the mean. Okay, for this median, the median class we got is 59 to 78, and then after the complete all the using this formula, we get the median is 373.4. And the last one is mode, which is have 5 steps. Step 1, need to determine the location of the model class. Step 2, determine the lower class boundary LM. Step 3, determine class size or class Y. Step 4, determine A1 and A2. And the last one is calculate the mode. For this mode, we got 123.9.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is FARHANA Binti Ali and metric number is H21A2300. Today I would like to present about measure of variation. The meaning of range is the simplest measure of dispersion to calculate. It obtained by taking difference between the largest and smaller value in a data set. Before looking for variance standard deviation, we must find the range is the maximum data entry minus the minimum data entry, so the answer for range is about 160. To find the variance and standard deviation, we must compile a table consistent of class S, which is frequency, H which is a point of square F multiplication X and F multiplication X square, then add the sum of Fx and multiplication Fx square. After that, enter the number of the table according to a formula given in the sample variance Y. To find the standard deviation, enter the sum of the variance in the square root. The result is a standard deviation is the answer. Therefore, the sample variance is about 29.82 and the sample standard deviation is about 5.46.
Next slide, measure of position. The analysis that separated a classified data set into 4 equal parts is called a quartile. The first quartile, the second quartile, and the third quartile are the 3 measurements. This table shows the quartile. In the last slide in part A, shape of data distribution. The shape of data distribution can be identified using a histogram and a frequency polygon. It shows mean, median, and mode. For the mean, 66.35, for the median, 373.4, and for the mode, 123.90. And we get the shape is keyword to the right. Thank you.
For part B is introduction to the data and variable involved, person product moment correction, confusion, interpretation, and estimate simple linear regression line interpretation.
Part B, introduction to the data and variables involved. This data set has 2 variables, the amount of water variable and height variable. The amount of water of plants received represents independent variable and height of plant reception dependent variables. The data show the subject is the types of plants, amount of water plant received in millimeter, and height of plant in centimeter. The population is 100 plants and the sample is 35 plants. The sampling technique is simple random sampling. This is secondary data. The Y is height in centimeter and X is amount of water in millimeter. Pearson product moment correlation confusion. Look at the data table. How we find data x squared? We multiply the x number with the same number. For example, 100 multiply 100 and get
10,000. For x squared and y squared, we use the same formula but use the number of y column. Then we find xy. We multiply the x squared and y squared and get the xy. Next, we total all of the number by column to get the answer for next step. This is the formula to get the answer, and we get equals 0.02. That is weak positive correlation at 0.02 between x and y.
Assalamualaikum, my name is ATIQAH Binti RUSMIN. My matrix number is H21A2955. Now, I want to explain about simple linear regression. So, here, the formula to solve the simple linear regression, which is y equals b0 plus b1x. So, here the two-step or formula to solve the regression equation. First, we use this formula to find the b1. The value for b1 we got is 0.07. Next step is, after we find b1, we need to find b0. And we use this formula to find b0. The value we got is 9810.51. And for the regression equation, formula is y equals b0 plus b1x, and we got y equals 9810.51 plus 0.07x. And for the slope, to integrate the regression equation is for slope is b1 equals 0.07, and the constant b1, the value is 9810.51. And that's all from our group. Thank you.